Happy New Year,
Hi
Evo.
everybody, Happy New Year. Happy 2026 everybody. Thanks a lot for joining us, whether you are on LinkedIn or on this event directly. So thanks a lot for joining. How are you,
Dude,
Misha?
I'm doing very well. I'm very excited about this topic because I personally don't know much about. I mean, from what I've experienced, obviously I know the experience of it, but I think from the back end I don't know too much about it. I know that you know we've seen this, we've done this a few times, and I'm actually curious, to kind of see how you will walk us through this, using LumApps documentation. And I know you have some demos that are lined up too, right, Ivo, for this one. So folks, if they stay in, they'll see the demos, live demos of setting up SAML with Okta.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, we are never free from the demo effect, but we will try to move along the snowflakes because it's snowing right now here in Europe. So yeah, we will do our best, of course. We did the demo for today. That's it.
So
So cross your fingers.
first thing is pro tip of the week. And oh, by the way, right, we want to remember to remind folks to please make sure you comment on LinkedIn. Uh, I'll be monitoring, Evo will be monitoring when Evo's talking, I'll monitor vice versa. So please, you have questions, comments, post them on the LinkedIn webinar event, and we'll be sure to address those. So pro tip of the week. So this is a really interesting one. So for ADC, so we had this widget called the Media Mover widget to address the gap of being able to organize your media library. And that was, there for a while. The widget was there for about 4 years, and the gap was there, for also a little longer than that. And happy to report that now, with a few releases ago, actually, LumApps has now enhanced their media library, so you can now move around not just files, you can move around, folders, you can move around PDFs, images. Here in this picture I have JSON. So whatever you have in the media folder, it allows you to move it around. It's very simple. Kind of just click in to the experience. We can even look at it together. So I have this ABC assets. Let's say I want to move this folder, go in. Let's say I want to choose to move it into the design assets folder, like that. Move here, and now it's right there. Double click, and the ADC assets are right here underneath my design assets. I can move back, obviously, back and forth, up and down, all around, as they say, to the source root folder, and vice versa. Same thing with files. It's really convenient. Um, I will say one thing, and you will keep me honest, is that our media mover widget um, allows you to move things across different sites as well, which this one I don't think does. This is only limited to this interest site. We can actually help you move files across different sites if that's a use case with our media movers. There's still some advantage of having our extension, our media mover, in your library if that's a use case for you.
Yeah, well, we can be proud about that, right? Because we had originally the idea of about creating a media mover widget, and now they have integrated it directly into the product. That's great. So,
Yeah. Yes.
right. But I
Um,
am sure that you have more reasons than this to be excited, right, Misha?
we definitely do. So then we have a we're definitely so this week I think over the past few weeks and so last year working on a new extension which will add a lot of value to the enterprise user. It'll help with your get better KPIs, get more metrics, improve your scroll depth for users. Essentially, the widget is called as estimated reader time, and just as the name implies, the widget shows you how long it'll take to read a page. I'm sure you've seen these use cases, nothing new. You've seen these all over the web, right? And just like a helpful guide for users to give them more context about the length, keep them on the page more, keep them more engaged, ensure they scroll down, so improve the scroll depth KPIs, reduces bounce rates, right? Because they're going to know the content, they'll consume the content a little bit better with the proper expectation. Expectations obviously are important, and a lot of things that this small little enhancement will do, it'll definitely go a long way. This actually is going to be included with our knowledge base of wiki bundle, which also includes table of contents widget, plus the back to top widget as well. So definitely ask us about that. And some features of this extension are you can actually select which words to use for the count. So by default, I think it's about 240 words per minute. If I got to change the screenshot, but you can change the default wording. You can say, hey, you know what? We think our readers are much faster. Like, they zoom through reading all our content, so you can choose it to 300 words a minute. Totally fine. You can do that. It's localized language support. You can customize the label. So if you don't want to say estimated reading time, you want to say estimate or approximate reading time, whatever you want to say. You have those options here. You can configure desired words per minute, like we said. Um, and here just a quick preview of this. So here's the extension on our one of our sandbox sites. Very straightforward. Estimated reading time, 1 minute for this page. And if you want to see even more detail, we'll edit the page. And here you'll see some of the settings we have where you can show the help icon. This helps guide the user and really tells them how many words are on the page, what widgets are used for the calculation. By default, even keep me honest, I think the default is HTML, intro, title, and rich text editor, but you can add others to be used as part of the calculation. Here's where you can calculate words per minute or add or update the word count. And really just tells you kind of what is the calculation based on. For those of you who are a little bit more techy, want to know a little bit more about this extension. And finally, for the customization label, if those of you who want to customize the experience, which is totally understandable for enterprise, you can customize it and choose what the singular label will be, like if it's 1 minute or if it's 1.5 minutes or over, what the plural label will be, and choose those words, so you can define what that is. This obviously keeps it simple, clean, but you have those customization options, and that's what we're excited about because I think it'll help a lot of our customers and Luna's customers really enhance and advance their experience. So thank you, Ivo, for turning this around so quickly.
Yeah, well, so it's great that you invited. So sorry. Well, in fact, I wanted to move to a different presentation meanwhile, and so I've picked the first sound effect that I had available. So thank you very much for this spotlight. So this is about the SAML identity provider configuration. Here we are speaking about the SAML v2, right? That is a protocol. And you, as many other companies, our customers, let's see if I can skip to the next. Oh, great, perfect. There has been a little glitch for which I was unable to change the page, so I'm relieved that now we have this slide about why should you be choosing SAML in order to authenticate your users in LumApps. Well, companies in general have many different reasons to adopt SAML, but I've tried to list the most common ones here in the follow. If there was a word about all the reasons to pick SAML as an identity provider, definitely that would be flexibility. That gives you a lot of freedom as an IT department representative in order to enable your users with lots of features, and that improves also your quality of life as an administrator of the authentication and authorization in your organization. So the first reason to use SAML is, of course, the single sign-on. So this means that you log in only once. everybody knows what a pain is to log into different systems across your enterprise. Thanks to SAML, in fact, you will authenticate just once, and then you will have access to all of your corporate applications. Then, of course, you have, as an IT administrator, you have the advantage of managing the policies in a single location instead of having several different products in which you set the password complexity or whether or not your users have to use MFA and stuff like that. You have a single location where to set all those policies. Then, that splits also those two responsibilities that are the authentication and the authorization. You have a single location where the credentials will be stored. And so that eases also your life in the sense that you manage in a single location all of your users across your company and your digital ecosystem. And last but not least, sometimes you have audits for any reason, and you must demonstrate your compliance with ISO 27001 or any other standard that you could be bound to comply with. So, all this makes the strength of this protocol, and it's great to know that LumApps supports this kind of authentication protocol. What is also great about LumApps is that you don't have to have only a single identity provider. Actually, LumApps supports several providers at the same time. And this gives you an extra freedom. That is the possibility to test new authentication providers directly in your organization, in your LumApps instance. And so this way you can eventually transition from one identity provider to another, and all of your users in LumApps will keep finding their information, their widgets, their selected, all the communications that were crafted especially for them. And all their settings remain identical. This is a great advantage about LumApps. So, the fact that LumApps supports several identity providers at the same time does not grant you only the possibility to test new identity providers, but it's great also for mergers, for example. So in this world, the companies grow, acquire new entities, and that is essentially a pain because as an IT administrator, you have to manage different entities, and you have to change eventually your policies to adapt to the new entities that you have just acquired, right? In other cases, instead, you might want to authenticate external users, as in the case of extranet, or you want to onboard partners, or even, a slightly more technical issue is about a hybrid setup in which you have, for example, an old Active Directory machine hosted somewhere on-prem, and then you are transitioning to a new Active Directory solution hosted on Azure Cloud. So even on those cases, this kind of authentication solution, such as SAML, might help. So, and of course, the fact that you have all this in LumApps, that will be even better. So this was about all in terms of theory. Now I think that we can move to a different, practical exercise, right? So this is where we invoke demo gods. Please help us today as well. So let's see how we can configure an identity provider, right? So of course, first step, let's visit the provider settings. So in the LumApps administration interface, you have this long list of items. On this long list, you have this provider settings. They are just below global administrators. So you expand this section and you can visit the page called Identity Providers. Well, it's also available at this address. You have just the slug of the site, then admin, provider settings, and identity providers. That's the slug of this page. Then you have a button above this page, and here you can select any of these items from the menu. The one that you are going to focus on is this last one, the SAML v2. So when you click on this, you have this, scary window. Scary because it's empty. You have to fill plenty of options, right? But let's see together what those options mean, actually. So the first one, it's the simplest one, actually, and that's about the title. So in my case, I'm going to create a new SAML v2, sorry, that will be connected to a trial Okta instance and Okta trial. And let's put also 2026 0107 for the sake of our test. So first of all, as you know, you can turn on or off an identity provider. This is what this enable login option corresponds to. Then you have a few other options. The one that I suggest you to enable eventually is this allow on-the-fly user creation. This may, well, there is a little caveat that we will see in the follow that is about the fact that users, when you are using a SAML v2 provider, users are not being created by LumApps. They are not being created by your synchronization API, and they are not being created unless you create them somehow. We will see how to create users in a later phase today. But it's important to know that you have to create users in LumApps before using the SAML v2. This option that we have here, allow on-the-fly user creation, means that if you enable it, once a user tries to log into LumApps from your identity provider, an empty user will be created in LumApps. What does mean empty? Well, given that you are a seasoned LumApps user, you already know that LumApps brings in information from your identity providers. This information is mainly related to the user attributes. These might be, for example, the department or the name of the manager, or, for example, the hobbies, the role, the title, and stuff like that. Plenty of other informations that might be present in your identity provider. When you enable this option, a user will be created, but it will not have any of those fields. So in order to fill all those fields, you will have to populate them using the provisioning API. So you can see that in the docs.lumapps.com, there is this page here that is explicit about how to use the LumApps provisioning API in order to fill all your users' custom fields. Don't be afraid. I will be sharing a QR code to a documentation page where you can find all these links that I am speaking about today. But for the moment, just be aware that when you enable this option in the provider settings, when a user logs in for the first time, its profile information will be empty. You will have to fill it somehow. And the provisioning API is one way to fill those user attributes. So then Another very important option on this page is the visibility of the login button. In this case, this determines where the login button will be visible. And from this list, you can select whether the button should be visible on the web. So, for example, on this page that you are seeing on my screen, on the mobile application only, on the web and the mobile application, or whether it should be hidden, absolutely hidden. So, when should you be picking hidden? Essentially, when you enable the, how do they call it? The IDP-driven login. So we will see during the setup that you can define an authentication login directly in Okta. And so that's where this option hidden might make sense. So let's scroll down. Here in this section, you have absolutely to take care of two things. So the first one is to enable the options that are relevant to your use case. And then second, you have to copy this provider reference that is present here. You see this long string? Well, I suggest you to have a editor close nearby, because this will be very, very helpful in the follow. So let me copy this to my clipboard, because it's very, very important. And then there is also another information that you will need during the setup process. In order to get that information, you need to press Ctrl-Shift ? This opens this debug info pop-over, and you have to click on this icon here, organization customer. This is the customer ID. So once we are complete with this, well, we can proceed with the Okta setup, right? So let's move on. Let's see. Oh, perfect. Well, demagogues are not really 100% with us today, but okay, that's fine. Just 1 second. I need to get a code for my Okta instance.
And this is pretty common, obviously, for Okta sign-in. You get the once you get that.
Yeah, of course. When you are an Okta administrator, this kind of interface is locked every 30 minutes, probably, because I have had access about 50 minutes ago. So I deduce that this window, this interface is locked after a certain amount of time of inactivity. So an Okta interface looks like this. Essentially, you have an interface, an admin console, where you have the applications, and you have, of course, your people. So your users are here in the directory people, and then you have a bit lower this list of applications. So that's where we are going to add our LumApps application. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to create a new app integration, and here I'm going to select SAML 2.0. When I press next, another time we have something like this to type. And then let's begin with the important items, right? So in order to fill all these fields, you will have to follow the steps described on this web page. Create SAML v2 in LumApps. Also in this case, I will make available a link about this documentation. Okay, so no need to copy the URL on the fly or the name of the page. You will have all this at the end of this video. So the single sign-on URL is an information that you can find on the documentation. This has a predefined value, and the value is similar to this. You can just copy and paste it from the documentation. Then, in terms of other fields to fill, we have this audience URI, ESP entity ID. So that's where those two informations that we have copied to our clipboard will be very helpful. So let's have a look at this field. The first thing, is very similar to what you have in the single sign-on URL, and that's a fixed string. You can copy it from the documentation. And then you have to replace two sections. The first one is the section about the organization ID. That's the customer ID that we have copied in the advanced debug info window. And then we have the provider ID that is present here. So you craft the right URL following this pattern present here. So this is the pattern, you see. And so you have to replace this organization ID with the ID that you have taken from the advanced debug info. And you have to take the SAML provider reference from the provider configuration. Okay, once you are done with this, well, next items to copy are this default relay state. Also, this information may be found in the documentation, and this corresponds to the address of your LumApps instance. It's easy, you can copy it directly from here, from your home page. Then, in terms of name ID format, in this case, you have to select a specific one from this list. It's better if you pick email address, because this will spare an interaction with the LumApps customer support. Of course you can, you will just have, of course you can keep unspecified, but you will have to contact the LumApps support. Then, for the application username, you will have to pick email. And then what is important is to fill these attribute statements. So, for example, in this case, I'm quite sure that we have, okay, perfect. So here we have to type something like first name format we can keep for all the fields unspecified, but we have to select one of the options from this combo box. User first name, then we have last name that will be user last name, and then we have email, and email will be, of course, well, La Palisse help us, user.email. Okay, that should be all about the configuration of our identity provider. So let's, okay, perfect. This one is a preview. We need to note it for the moment, but this is the minimum set of attributes that you have to configure in order to use your identity provider. So let's press next. And then in this case, we can finish. Okay, perfect. Once we are done with this, we have a few more things to do. SAML certificates. Okay. Okay. So the metadata URL. Okay, perfect. This one is a file. So we have to save this file somewhere. Metadata, downloads. So why this one is important? The metadata URL is the information that contains the information that LumApps will be using in order to validate your SAML grants once you try to log in. So now let's move on. Let's go back to the provider settings in LumApps. And here, for the very last step, we have this metadata section, right? You remember we were not yet finished with the provider setup, and here we have this import button. And here I just select the metadata .xml file that you have just downloaded from that page. So Okay, perfect. If you did everything correctly, you should see something like this appear on the screen. So that metadata.xml, that is the file that you have downloaded, and automatically this second file will be available here in the list. So you can download it. Well, hopefully, well, my browser does not seem to react, but okay, let's save this. And then we are ready for the next step, that is try this login. Misha, now it's time to play for you. So thank you very much for your help. I'm going to remove my screen sharing, and now it's up to you to demonstrate how a user can log in once we have finished the the, the setup of the Okta provider.
So, and that's like really the most straightforward part. You thanks for putting me into this. So with the login, you'll have this sign in with SAML Okta. So we have obviously you can customize the label here for text. We put test here. And so once you click it, because I've already signed in, uh, it'll keep me. So here actually it's actually asking me for my password.
Yeah.
Same thing. Let's see if I got it right. Okta is doing this thing, and once the password is done, it's going to sign you in right here. And once since I chose the option to keep me signed in, obviously, if I log out from here, I can choose to back. So we have a couple of
Yes, of course. I'm sorry. Now you have two buttons because, for the sake of this demo, in fact, we have set up several SAML B2 identity providers, and both have a login button. So this is the reason why you are getting two buttons right now. I'm going to turn it off for the most recent one, so that that will be less confusing.
yeah.
And yeah, really sorry about this.
So
But yeah, of course, it's the, the power of LumApps that we can see here, because every SMLv2 provider may have its own login button, and you can customize the label of that button.
yeah, you will do. You want to go into the to QR code or
Yes, of course. That is helpful for the people who are attending this ADC live. But in this case, you can use this QR code directly from your mobile phone, or you can use the link that you can see here on this page. Well, it's the same, but that will bring you to ADC docs.adc.dev page with all the documentation that I have used in order to prepare this show today. So that's all for the step by step. And good luck for the configuration of your SAML providers. Let us know if that went straight in the same way as us, and keep us posted. Happy to help in case. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
thanks so much, Ivo. So what does this tell us about what you can imagine? Is this is
That must be from the previous session.
what we can imagine for the next episode, right? I think that's what you meant to say. So what we can imagine for the next episode. First of all, before we get to the next episodes, your feedback really does matter, as we always say. Tell us what you'd like to know more about. Go to our partner space in the Hive, ADC partner. Just type it in on the Hive search. ADC partner comes up, and take our survey. Just right there, directly from our partner homepage, right here, and you can literally take the survey. I've already kind of taken it just for demo purposes, but you can update it and take the survey, give us feedback. Really helpful. And then what's coming up next? So two exciting episodes coming. The one in 2 weeks, we about LumApps customization APIs. All you tech guys definitely want to join this one. He was going to deep dive into this a little bit more, showing us some use cases and what are some of the capabilities, why use the customization APIs, and just what are some useful ways that we've done it before in the past. And then in February, we have an episode focusing about LumApps micro apps. and use that as a data source for Ask AI. So I know we talked about some of this in the past. We'll go more into it. Micro apps is a very hot topic, and I think there's always never a lack of demand and interest for a topic like this. And we've seen that, we've been asked about it, so here we are delivering what you've asked. So thanks so much for that. Ivo, thank you so much for your knowledge, insight. Thank you to all of those who tuned in, and we will see you next time. Happy New Year.
Thank you, everybody.